You're welcome again to Searching the Heart this evening, and I hope you enjoyed the last few episodes we had. Today I want to move forward in discussing a few other things that have to do with the world that we live in, those little issues that have to be considered and solved before you can find or live in a world that we all agree to live in together, vis-a-vis the fact of the global village and also the fact of the continuation of human community. And this important topic is gender identity. Now, I don't believe that I may handle everything or satisfy everybody in these discussions, but I just want to kind of scrape the surface, and bring up one or two things as relates to this very controversial topic. In my observations of the definitions of gender identity, I have observed an excessive dependence on social constructs. Anywhere you check for the definition, you discover that, of course, the definitions have been modified over the years, and there is this dependence on social constructs. Okay, whatever you are brought up to believe, that is what you believe. If you're brought up in a conservative society, you tend to grow up conservative. If you're brought up in liberal society, you tend to grow up liberal. Social constructs. Well, there are exceptions to this rule, and that is why I believe that there's an overemphasis on social constructs. Once in a while, in every society, you find a social misfit, as it were. Okay, some people just don't grow up and believe what they are told. Many people come out somehow having a mind of their own, and these are the people we normally call the misfits. Hence, even the idea of some of the controversy within the concept of gender identity. Okay, there are misfits, and every society tends to alienate such misfits over the generations, and sometimes it goes as bad as committing some form of silent genocide in that light. For instance, this very popular one, the killing of twins in parts of Nigeria, parts of Africa. Okay, in some societies, of course, people who are more phlegmatic or more melancholy, are segregated. Okay, in others, maybe those who are more sanguine. So this is just the issue, and you find that trait goes from generation to generation, and there is a greater population of particular culture that tend to be sanguine or melancholic. So these are the things in different cultures. Being a missions person, I know that this exists. Okay, when you study different tribes, you find that each tribe has its own differences in that light. So the overdependence on social constructs is a bit going too far, and the laws of physics determine that action equals reaction. Okay, the laws of chemistry determine the results of reactions between chemicals. Okay, we come from mathematics to physics. These are the discoveries over the centuries, that there are certain laws that govern what exists. Whether you believe that God created them or that they evolved, whatever, there are laws that govern it. Okay, mathematics, and these can be observed through the laws of mathematics, laws of physics, and chemistry. Okay, these in turn determine biological outcomes. Okay, and because of these, sexual behavior thus are determined by set patterns of physiology. Okay, physiology. first and foremost, and that is the majority fact, okay, discovered fact, that the majority of organisms behave based on these laws of nature, okay, by these set patterns of physiology. But how a person acts or feels inside may have varying sources, okay. It is very true that feelings, they are not things you can really touch, you can really have, that have any substance, and because of that, you know, they have a different impact on how people behave, and of course based on the sources of these feelings. And of course we go back to science, okay, and science says that there are hormones, and these hormones may dictate the way one behaves, okay, but also there are extra hormonal sources, okay, which sometimes are external. They are external influences. I will be looking at this in some detail today, okay. And of course the social constructs, habits we pick up from probably our parents or our neighbors or the people we grow up with, okay. Habits, and these habits again are some of the sources of this cultural conditioning. So we look at all these things. We are not going to be focusing on the biological hormones, okay. We are going to be looking at the extra hormonal influences and the cultural conditioning, which are the habits. After this we will do that.
Discover a transformative journey into the kingdom of heaven. Following the initial publication, the author dives deeper with two insightful follow-up books. Ever felt disconnected from God even in worship? Explore how God's unconventional ways can transform your life. How can you align with divine plans, avoiding distractions? Find answers in The Kingdom of Heaven on Earth and The 3, Illuminating Christian Truths and Prophetic Practices. Unlock profound insights guiding you toward a deeper connection with God. Don't miss out. Dive into this enlightening exploration today. Click the link on the caption to get your copy.
Yes, we are going to be looking at number 2 and 3, extra hormonal influences and habits which are governed through cultural conditioning, okay. Sometimes might be individual culture too, you know, when somebody just because of his or her own temperament develops some habitual behaviors, and then these sink in and become part of the person. So we'll look at all that. Let us start with extra hormonal and external influences. One's ambitions, needs, and so on can be manipulated by presenting a counter offer to fulfill such needs or deny them to force the individual into an unexpected behavior pattern. This has been discovered, okay, not in any detailed study. I haven't yet found any detailed study that proves that this exists, but I have observed this on my own, in my own investigations. Some deliberate, some very accidental, okay, that when you present a counter offer, okay, to somebody, needs can be manipulated, okay, and the person might find himself desiring to fulfill other needs, okay, because such a counter offer exists. Okay, for instance, if I buy a toy and I hide it and I tell my child, okay, what do you want for your birthday present, okay, will that hidden toy influence that choice? Or, okay, you know, you can go on and changing the outcomes, and this is what some people do unofficially superficially, which sometimes can be questioned ethically, okay? When it's done outside the jovial, okay, friendly environment, like organizing somebody a surprise birthday, for instance, that is what we do all the time. Sometimes we play little jokes. But when it is taking a step further, it can really lead to serious implications. And I believe that this is linked to a certain phenomenon. Okay, late 70s or so, some scientists of the National Geographic conducted experiments on elephants, and they discovered that elephants emit a short wave frequency. Okay, it is not audible to the ear, but it is there. Okay, and they are able to communicate over very long distances with one another. Okay, this is, I believe, is a dormant part of the human senses. Okay, that humans also emit some very unseen waves that may be described as short waves. Okay, shortwave frequencies are frequently emitted by the human brain, like elephants. Okay, in bats, it is a form of sonic emission. Okay, because bats are blind, so they emit these waves, and when it hits a barrier, it returns to them, and they navigate their ways. Okay, but human beings have something similar. Okay, and this is what some people call telepathy. Okay, and this is what some people call clairvoyance. Of course, we know that clairvoyance of course is very dangerous, as a lot of people believe, and I agree with that. Clairvoyance should be natural. If you have a natural clairvoyance, it's great. Every human being has some form of natural clairvoyance. When we concentrate on it and we build it up, it tends to be useful. But when taken too far, of course, it is what is used by the occult, and creates a lot of problems. A lot of very terrible things happen within the confines of religion through this, and I believe this can be scientifically proven. Okay, that human beings emit a wave, and by manipulating these expectations and outcomes, human behavior can be reconditioned, and this is what creates beyond social constructs. This is or hormones, and also beyond hormones, these external influences can affect outcomes, behavioral outcomes. Okay, we'll continue with the next after this.
Come home, I hear the trumpets, my heart rejoicing. I hear your voice, you're saying, come home, I hear you calling, my heart is breaking.
Discover a transformative journey into the kingdom of heaven. Following the initial publication, the author dives deeper with two insightful follow-up books. Ever felt disconnected from God even in worship? Explore how God's unconventional ways can transform your life. How can you align with divine plans, avoiding distractions? Find answers in The Kingdom of Heaven on Earth, and The 3, Illuminating Christian Truths and Prophetic Practices. Or your profound insights guiding you toward a deeper connection with God. Don't miss out. Dive into this enlightening exploration today. Click the link on the caption to get your copy.
Thirdly, we will consider habits. Okay, if a person is raised a particular way, he or she will tend to repeat such behavior. It is just normal. Okay, hence social constructs. Yes, raising the way a child is raised within a culture, within a society, of course influences the way the child behaves. Okay, in this light, social activity like cooking, ornamental dressing, social and antisocial behavior may not mark any gender specific model. Okay, a lot of us make the mistake of attributing things like cooking, ornamental dressing, and social or antisocial behavior to particular genders. Okay, and that is not true. Those are just socially determined constructs. Okay, ways of doing things, and based on the differences in culture and differences in society. Okay, and all that, and background. So, and these may show prominence in one gender or the other. Okay, in some societies, men are the cooks, whether you like it or not. Depending, because of the diet, the men are the cooks, and they are very good at it. Okay, in the some societies, men are more social than the women. Okay, even though women tend to be more social in most societies. Okay, dealing with ornamental dressing or preparation in terms of celebrations, sometimes men are more involved in these than women. So these are things that may be popular with one gender, but are not limited to that gender. Okay, so habits are formed, and when they are formed, people grow up with them. They don't necessarily attribute to one gender or the other. Okay, and so we'll continue with that. We've looked at these three things: the hormones, which are part of the biology, that in certain excesses they make men behave a particular way or women behave the other way. Hormones like estrogen, hormones like the masculine hormone for men, all that, they make people behave in one way or the other. Okay, and then habits are formed from childhood. If it is generic to the female gender, of course, it becomes generic to anybody. A girl that grows up within, that is probably grows up in the company of women all the time, of course she will build up such habits. Okay, but we have mentioned that there are also certain influences that may tend to tilt the behavior of a particular person in one way against his socially acceptable behavior, because in his subconscious and in his conscious he desires a particular outcome, and so when you tamper with that outcome, with the possibilities associated with that outcome, it makes him to change and behave in another way. Okay, and these are unseen consequences, unseen factors that must be investigated before we can know how they really affect the personal individual at stake. Okay, so social constructs do determine a lot, and roles have tended through history to be defined in certain genders. Of course, we know that, but these are not core to these gender patterns. And so, futuristically, we must conclude that futuristically one cannot rule out a pluralistic society. where gender plays a less prominent role, even when certain physiological facts overrule these gender roles. Of course, it is already happening, especially in Western societies, and there are those minorities even in many societies. In every society, there exist people who go out of the socially accepted gender patterns, okay, the popular gender patterns, of course, and in every society. And the future, of course, it may increase. That may become socially acceptable, and it is becoming social in many societies, okay. But in the same light, I must say that in the same light, one can also not rule out a forever war if these gender patterns are forced on popular society. In certain societies, it is also true that you cannot force such pluralistic gender behavior on every society, and it would be wrong to do that, because science itself will not agree with that, because physiology, based on the laws of science, physiology determines our popular gender. Of course, the word gender has been redefined, and to mean something different from sexual orientation. Gender does not really determine sexual orientation. And of course, we have tended to move beyond the description of temperament, calling it temperament, okay. And I believe that these things will soon become based on parochial leanings and belief systems, and not a global unified belief system. And the next 20 to 50 years may determine the last generation that may be united in these definitions, okay, of what sexual orientation means, what gender means, and what temperament may mean. Okay, it may be determined by parochial leanings and belief systems, and not a global unified belief system. Okay, and this is what will happen. For me personally, I would like to say that I am more on the side of conceptuality, what I have termed conceptuality. And conceptuality says that no matter the weaknesses of the design, the original design of the world, these designs are set based on the original intention behind the design. Okay, let me give you an example, and some people may not find this example very agreeable, but who said that the horse was something to ride? Okay, it's just a question. Who said the horse was something to ride? When human beings came into the world, why did they choose the horse to ride and the cow to eat? Some people eat horses, some people ride cows, but why is the horse a more acceptable beast of burden, and the cow for food more acceptably for food? This is the question. There is something we call conceptuality, and when we agree with this, and when we understand and we move into science, we will understand that no matter the weaknesses of the concept of design has a purpose, and there is a design for everything. And this is what I believe. I am David Ndichinke for you today in Searching the Heart.
Discover a transformative journey into the kingdom of heaven. Following the initial publication, the author dives deeper with two insightful follow-up books. Ever felt disconnected from God even in worship? Explore how God's unconventional ways can transform your life. How can you align with divine plans, avoiding distractions? Find answers in The Kingdom of Heaven on Earth, and The 3, Illuminating Christian Truths and Prophetic Practices. Unlock profound insights guiding you toward a deeper connection with God. Don't miss out. Dive into this enlightening exploration today. Click the link on the caption to get your copy.